Godrej, the family is now splitting. The family is said to have sealed the deal to amicably split 127-year-old conglomerate with operations across from production of soaps to home appliances to real estate. Adi Godrej and brother Nadir will keep Godrej Industries and its 5 listed firms. His cousin Jamshed and Smitha will be getting the unlisted Godrej and Boyce as well as all the other affiliates. Now, to enable the split, the two sides quit the boards of companies in rival camps. Real estate worth crores of rupees, mostly in the prime land or as of prime land in Mumbai suburbs, will remain under Godrej and Boyce, and a separate agreement is set to be worked out to govern the ownership rights of that land. How and when will this final proposal go through? Let's talk about that. Kartik Malhotra here with me. Kartik, hi, good morning.
Good morning, Shita.
A big story coming obviously by the way of Godrej now finally splitting. A 27-year-old conglomerate is breaking up.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't really say it's breaking up. There hasn't been an implosion that you have seen in other family businesses which have survived not as long as Godrej. It is one of the oldest surviving Indian conglomerates and pretty much, the first company to really begin the Make in India, journey well before it became popular a good 100 years or so later. So, 127 years in the making. This is, of course, a formidable brand. And I wouldn't really say they're breaking up, but they are just splitting businesses and splitting interests in a very professional manner.
And amicably so.
And amicably so. Well, I just hope that it continues to remain amicable because whenever land comes into question, deals often go sour. What we know right now is that all the listed companies are going to belong to Godrej Industries, and that is going to be headed by the Adi Godrej side of the family, Adi and Nadir Godrej, whereas all the unlisted companies, which include Godrej and Boyce, as well as huge parcels of land in Vikhroli in Mumbai, are going to be controlled by Godrej Enterprises, which is going to be led by Jamshed and Smitha, who are real siblings. Adi and Godrej are real siblings. They are together cousins. And there is a fifth cousin as well, or a fifth member as well, called Rishabh Godrej, who never got married, does not have any offsprings. So nothing really accrues yet to him, but obviously there is going to be some share because he continues to be an equity holder in the listed as well as the unlisted companies of Godrej. So some wealth is going to accrue to him. What his succession is really going to be, we really don't know right now how that is going to get split. Now, obviously, 127 years in the making, there is a lot to talk about the company.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the brand Godrej. Anybody who's been born even in late 90s to early 2000 gets to hear about how Godrej, a formative brand, is also a brand that built India along with, not just making in India or being an indigenous brand to India, but a very important part of India's growth story.
You're right. In fact, not just us who were born in the 80s and 90s, but even our parents' generation, which was born in the perhaps 50s and 60s, if not earlier, and even their parents who would have been born, just at the change of the century between as India went to 1900, would have perhaps heard of brand Godrej. And, the story actually kicked off way back in 1897. That's 127 years ago, where Adishar Godrej, pretty much, the founder of Godrej, was a practicing lawyer in Zanzibar pretty much at the same time that Mahatma Gandhi was a practicing lawyer in South Africa. And both of them almost coincidentally in the same time frame had the urge to come back to India and contribute to India in their own separate ways. While Mahatma Gandhi ended up becoming the father of the nation, I think it wouldn't be incorrect to say arguably that Adishar Godrej pretty much became the father of Make in India and the father of India's own industrial revolution. So he came back to India, tried his hand at making at that time, which was a need gap he felt in the market, of making scissors and razor blades, which the Britishers back in the day did not permit him to continue with, and that business did not flourish until in the early 1900s he actually saw an advertisement, in fact a report in the newspaper in Mumbai, where the then Deputy Commissioner of Mumbai had requested all people to lock their homes well, because there were burglaries and thefts happening in the suburban areas of Mumbai. And that sort of, rang a bell with him, and he said, that is an opportunity that I can fill in. And that's the need gap. And that need gap got fulfilled with the Godrej locks. And even the Godrej locks that we see today have seen multiple generations of improvement, but the Godrej lock continues to survive today. Now, we are in election season. There is another interesting, fascinating story, in fact, about how Godrej and the family and the brand has been so closely linked, not just to democratic India, but to even India's own journey of independence. Now, pre-independence, just a few years before India's independence, in the year 1944, there was a Bombay dock fire. And in that Bombay dock fire, the entire area and the surroundings of the dock got burned down, and they were actually literally converted to rubble. There was nothing left, except Union Bank of India back then had a Godrej locker, a metallic locker, which had about 5,50,000 rupees in cash stashed in. The fire destroyed everything else. Except for that locker. And a few months later, when the fire was doused and when the recovery was done, what you saw, you were able to unlock that locker very easily, and the entire 5,50,000 rupees in notes, in physical currency, did not get burned, did not get charred. So that led to independent India's first elections in 1951. The Election Commission of India actually gave the contract of making those physical ballot boxes to Godrej. And Godrej then started actually making those first set of ballot boxes, which got sent to all parts of India from the Vikhroli train station. And that parcel of land in Vikhroli was always owned by Godrej, and even to this date, 75 years later, continues to be held by the Godrej family.
Well, that was, of course, the start, and generations later, we are today at a stage that at least the ownership is splitting, if not so much as the business splitting. What does it entail for Adi and Nadir, as well as the cousins?
Right. So I think what they've done, it's a very fine surgical sort of a split which has been done, where Adi Godrej and Nadir Godrej, the two real siblings, and their offsprings together will control all the listed entities of Godrej. Right. So all the 5 listed companies, which have a market cap of give or take about $30 billion and a revenue, a top line of about $5 billion, will accrue to the Adi Godrej and Nadir Godrej family. Nadir Godrej's son, Pirudshar, is actually now named as the chairman to succeed Nadir Godrej in 2026. He continues to be the executive vice chairman on, sitting on the Godrej board right now. He is now slated to become the chairman in 2026 of Godrej Industries.
Right.
But there's the unlisted side of it, which includes
Godrej
another.
and Boys.
Absolutely. So Godrej and Boys, as well as that entire parcel of Vikhroli land, which is all unlisted, now will be owned and operated by Jamshed and Smita and their offsprings.
Okay. So what happens to that 3,400 acres of parcel of land? Is there any clarity on who gets it?
Right. So, what we know for a fact is that the Vikhroli side of the land will continue to be controlled by Godrej and Boys, which is Smita and Jamshed and their offsprings. However, there is a Godrej Properties division, which is part of the other camp, which is Godrej Industries. And Pirudshar Godrej has actually been running the real estate, the property business. So any land which has already been developed or has been acquired for further development from the unlisted side is now going to rest with Godrej Industries. But this just solves one part of the land bank. There is another land bank of about 1,700 acres valued at over 3,000 crore rupees, which is touted to be the lungs of Mumbai. These are
the
mango, exactly. These are the mango groves, on the outskirts of Mumbai, which pretty much feed all the oxygen that Mumbai needs. But there has been a rancor between Adi Godrej and Smita Godrej over what to do with that land. So Adi Godrej has up until now, in fact, as recently as 2021 or so, been of the belief that perhaps some areas within those mango groves of 1,700 acres should be developed for commercial utilization. Smita Godrej, on the other side, has taken a more sustainable approach and not a pure astute business decision, and has held her fort by saying that that land should not be developed and should continue to be the green area of Mumbai and continue to feed oxygen. So that parcel of land, about 1,700 acres, which has a commercial value but may not have commercial development prospects, will continue to be held by the trust, and that trust will have members from both Adi Godrej, Nadir Godrej and their immediate family, as well as cousins Jamshed and Smita and their immediate family, as well as the cousin who did not get married, does not have any children, which is Rishad Godrej.
All right, so as interesting as it gets, there is a split in business at the helm of Godrej after 129 years of a joint operation. It does look like the ownership will be separate from here on, with Adi and Nadir on other side and the cousins on the other side. And that Godrej family tree, of course, on your screens at the moment. Perhaps Karthik can spend a little bit time to explain to us who's who and who would be the beneficiary of that split.
All right, so let me just move here. So primarily, like I told you, Adishar Godrej was the founder of Godrej as we know it today, and he never had any children, right? In fact, there's a very interesting anecdote of where the name Boyce also comes from, but we'll get to that. So Adishar Godrej did not have any children. His brother, younger brother, Piroj Shah, actually got married and had children. So his family tree pretty much begins from the second layer that we are seeing here. The company already is in the fourth generation as we live and breathe. So apart from Saurabh, Dosa, Burjar and Naval, the third generation has been the most active in the last 30-40 years as we have seen the company grow and expand and diversify their businesses. And it is pretty much, a locks to land sort of a business. You can also call it, perhaps
real estate
a real estate to, soap maker, and operations not just limited to India, even the market not limited to India. So Latin America, Africa, parts of Europe, they don't just sell there, they actually even continue to make there. Now, like I told you, Rishad, does not have any children. You have Adi and Nadir, and between them, this is the division between Tanya, Nisab and Piroj Shah, and Saurabh, Bujris and Hamazad. And on the other side, you have Jamshed and Smita. So right now, as things stand, you have Piroj Shah, who is likely to be the successor, has been named as the successor for Godrej Industries. So if you were to put a split here, then this line or this entire family tree becomes the succession chain of all the listed entities, and everybody on that side of the line is going to actually get the unlisted businesses, and Nyrika is likely to lead that succession. Interestingly, this has been one family, which has been inclusive, which has been equitable, which has been diverse, and has not, unlike many other Indian companies and many other Indian family-run businesses, this family has not kept the women, has not kept the sisters or the daughters outside of business.
Which is interesting, because we've also tried talking about how families of brand Bharat or brand families of Bharat have tried to, in a sense, divide the current ownership of their assets, but in some cases have kept women away from getting that ownership. Perhaps Godrej is not one of them, has been inclusive in its approach.